And before we call the meeting to order, I have the pleasure of awarding Daniel with a recognition. Capilano University and Local Government Management Association offers a series of courses in public administration. As part of the city's ongoing commitment to education and training of its staff, many employees have taken the PADM courses. Daniel took his first PADM course in the fall of 2013 as a young child, and has taken on an average of 2 courses per year since completing his first level administration certificate in 2015. Under the Local Government Act, the province of British Columbia established the BC Board of Examiners. One of their responsibilities is granting of certificates in local government administration to local government officials who meet the criteria specified under the board's regulations, both academic and work experience. Daniel has completed 36 credit hours of university level courses in public administration with a combined grade point average of 3.86, which is an A. Excellent. At the November meeting of the Board of Examiners, the board has awarded Daniel a certificate in local government service delivery and forwarded it to us for presentation. So Daniel, do you want to come up here? So on behalf of the BC Board of Examiners and Grand Forks City Council, it is my pleasure to award you with this gorgeous certificate.
I couldn't have done it without the support of the city, the administration, Doug Allen, Diane Heinrich, and my team here. Without the team, it wouldn't be the same. Thank you, Council, for allowing me to go to the courses over the last 6-7 years now and continue my education to support this community. Thank you.
All right, I'll call this regular council meeting to order. The first item of business is the adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Councillor Corlick, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? We have minutes from the special go-in camera, November 21st. Can I have adoption of those minutes? Councillor Krog, Councillor Moslin, all those in favor?
Can I?
Business arising from the special go-in camera minutes?
Why do we have special go-in camera minutes? Because it's just a meeting and you read a statutory thing, so there aren't really any minutes.
Kevin, would you answer that question? Because I'd ask Kevin.
It is, in order to go in camera, you have to have the resolution to go in camera.
Yeah.
And you have to have that as a public meeting, which means that you have to have minutes of the public meeting.
Thank
When
you.
nobody says anything.
It's strictly
Okay.
procedure.
Okay.
Thank you. And the next is the regular minutes of November 22nd, or November 25th, regular meeting minutes. A motion to adopt those.
You should all be ashamed of yourselves.
I'm not sure why, but okay.
A seconder for that? Councillors? Councillors?
We did it.
Two councillor seconders. Okay, so all those in favor, business arising from those minutes, November 25th, Councillor Zelinski.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through you to staff a question. We had a bylaw, proposed bylaw amendment proposed to us last council meeting with definitions and zoning information. We tabled it for a public meeting or public consultation, I guess I'll say. And I was just wondering when that's going to happen, or do we have that scheduled?
Well, I thought I heard Daniel actually speaking to that earlier, saying that this was extremely busy at this time with other things going on, and it had to be reestablished for January. So I'm assuming that that's still the explanation of that.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. We'll hope to have some sort of public engagement workshop with the public possibly at a venue like the curling rink that really worked well with the land acquisition team the last time, where we had the round table kind of meetings where everybody could sit down and have more of that open kind of chit-chat discussion about what the outcomes should be or what some of the ideas are. So we're hoping to do this in January, but we, as council knows, this morning we already have a bunch of council meetings lined up and workshops for budgeting, so we'll try to squeeze that in somewhere too.
Great, thank you. And moving down to councillor reports. And can I ask for Councillor Moslin to start? We'll move around because everybody, I think, will.
Yeah, I'll try to, as I've submitted in writing, I'll assume that you've read it. The Social Service Advisory Group has met 3 times since the last council meeting. At the last meeting, December 11th, the group did decide to withdraw their delegation request because they were unable to find a qualified nonprofit organization to run an emergency shelter, nor were they able to solve the problem of the where of the emergency shelter, as the old nurses' residence was pretty much inappropriate and disrepair. I do want to thank, though, the members of the committee for continuing to work with us on these complex issues. I think the whole community owes them some thanks for putting in the time and bringing their best thinking and best collaborative behavior to the meeting. I do want to skip, I'm going to just skip the rest of it, but I do want to touch on one other meeting that I went to, which was the current approaches to addiction treatment on December the 12th, which was the day after these notes had to be in. I just want to summarize as briefly as I can that presentation, which featured a fellow by the name of Zach Mathieson, I think I got that right, who is currently seconded by the ministry to deal of addiction, health, and mental health and addictions, to help with the opioid crisis. Zach did describe for me, and I think I'm probably the only one there who wasn't aware of it, some of the details of what's called the opioid agonist therapy. This is a detox treatment for those suffering from opioid addictions. The residential detox treatment of opioid addiction is expensive and ineffective. The detox method can be highly disruptive to people and only has an efficiency rate of less than 20%. It also puts clients at an extremely high rate of overdose risk upon re-entry. The opioid agonist therapy, conversely, allows addicts from all walks of life to stabilize and maintain their own lives. Basically, what happens is a long-lasting opioid is given once a day. This counteracts and prevents the effects of short-term, more addictive opioids. The dose is usually supervised by trained staff, doctors, and pharmacists. The presenter estimated that 100 people in the Grand Forks area are on this therapy. This was quite an eye-opener for me. And of course, what's more troubling is that there's maybe somewhere around 100 people on the therapy, but that's the people who've chosen to avoid opioid addiction. Anyhow, I do want to finish my report with a much more positive thing, and I want to tip my hat to all those who made the Santa Claus Parade the wonderful event has become. It is a highlight of the year, and I really want to give a very big special thank you to Bud Elcock, who has taught us how to run a parade. He has been the force behind this event and the Canada Day Parade, I think the Fall Fair Parade, and has become the epitome of a parade marshal. Well-planned, patient, and forthright. And he has put on some pretty good shows. Bud wishes to step back this next year, but I want to assure him that the community will not let this event fade. We love parades. Thank you, Bud, for showing us how to celebrate our Yule together. And my wife and I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Councillor. At this point in time, I would like to introduce something that is consistent with Councillor Moslin's presentation. I would like to introduce a motion that was removed from the agenda when we had the delegation that decided not to come this morning to the Committee of the Whole. So what I'd like to make is a motion that the City of Grand Forks and the Regional District cooperate together to take a leadership role in addressing the homeless issues in Grand Forks and region. Could I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Thompson, thank you. And again, explaining why, I just think that at this point in time, we've restricted the activities of our employees, our staff, to facilitation. And I think the situation is critical enough that we need more than simply facilitation. We need leadership. That's not saying that we need to commit to spending money right now, but we need to take the brainpower of both our regional district and our city and have them work together on researching and looking at some creative options. So I'm asking you to support that motion, and I'll open the floor for some discussion. Councillor Zelinski.
So that's what I see for.
Yeah.
Can I get you to repeat that motion, sir?
The words don't have to be exact, that the City of Grand Forks and the Regional District together take a leadership role in addressing the homeless issues. And again, the Regional District has moved forward by appointing a representative to the Social Service Advisory Committee, Kathy Hutton, who has a counselor from town here. And so this is on the agenda, as I think the Regional District has addressed it many times. So, but at this point in time, I think it's important that we really free our staff on both the regional level and the city level to look at some alternatives. Councillor Zelinski had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering what that looks like, because just reading the words, I thought our Grand Forks Social Services Advisory Group was doing this, so I just need to know more what this means. Thank you.
I think what it means is simply what I said, that we're asking people to work together to look at this, look at things that are happening around the province, look at talking to BC Housing, whatever it takes to take a leadership role, to give council some options here in how we can deal with this crisis in our town, which it is. Councillor Crowell.
Yeah, I have some concerns with the wording, basically. A leadership role, yeah, that's fine, not the city and the regional district, because the city is the regional district, or part of the regional district. So if we were to ask the regional district to take a leadership role, that includes us. So that was one issue. And it says in addressing. So it's pretty vague and can be interpreted a lot of different ways. But yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, well, it's a provincial responsibility.
Yes.
But if the regional district, as we are members, and the rest of the membership all agree that the RD takes a leadership role, then.
And I think this should come to the BEDC first, the local regional one that's most affected by this. Midway, Greenwood, all of those people are affected by no shelter here. So if we take it at that level first, I expect to get full commitment from the regional district for this kind of initiative. Let's get creative here.
Well, let's get the request from the BEDC.
Point of clarification, please. You are talking about a leadership role in the development and operations of a shelter?
I'm saying addressing the homeless issues. I don't think it should be limited to shelter issues.
Yeah, I just, because you used
I
the word.
did say that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
so I
that-
just want clarification on
Well,
that.
I think it's certainly screaming out in front of us as one of the big ones, but no, I think it should be to address all of it. I mean, we're gonna have to work together in the coming year to have a longer-term solution to this too. And the Social Service Advisory Committee at this point is representing boundary services. So the people sitting at that table provide regional services. So let's keep it a regional focus. I think that is a healthy thing for Grand Forks to do, to recognize that we're in this with the rest of the region.
So then it should say that.
I think it says enough. I think it just, the important word for me is to get away from simply facilitating, which I think perimeters this too much for everyone, and to say, let's take some leadership, not followship, leadership.
So, again, I can't support that because if I can support the concept of the regional district that we're part of taking a leadership role, but it's saying the city of Grand Forks and the regional district together. So that's Montrose, Fruitvale, all of those others. So it should be regional, not the city and the region.
All right, I don't understand that difference you're making, because I think that clearly where it starts is in our region, but anything we do here at a regional district level, and Kathy and I have been on the board, it requires the formal approval of the larger board,
That's,
which is where it has to go.
yeah, so that's the, sorry, that would be the motion that we request the regional district board to take a leadership role in addressing the homeless issues in the area.
That's the way I read it.
Because we're part of it. No, it says the city
Okay,
of
well,
Grand Forks.
and the regional district. Okay, we're splitting hairs on that, but thank you for your input and further comment. Councillor Thompson.
Well, I'm hearing what Councillor Cog had to say, and I think if we took the words, the city of Grand Forks and out of the resolution, and the regional district took the leadership role in addressing the homeless issues in the area, does not preclude the city as a member of the regional district from participating.
I would
Yeah,
not
we
support
would be.
that, though. I think that waters it down completely and takes away from the motion, so I wouldn't support that motion. Councillor Moslem.
Oh, okay, Your Worship. You know, after some thinking about it, because it's pretty quick here, I guess I would support the motion. I do have some reservations about it. If we had crossed out the city of Grand Forks and just left it up to the regional district, and it went to the regional district, they would turn it down and we'd be nowhere. There is the question of homeless issues. It is not just a homeless shelter, as I think Councillor Thompson has pointed out. It's not just an emergency shelter. These are very complex issues, right? There are many reasons why a person becomes homeless. I mentioned the opioid crisis. The presenter said there are two things to fight. First, you have to stop people from dying. Well, as I told council, there's less people dying. Now we're down to 3 a day in British Columbia. And they anticipate that 980 people will die this year rather than 1,540. So that's down. But what isn't down, in fact, what is still increasing, is the emergency responses to overdose. So there's more overdoses that require medical aid than ever. So, stop people from dying, that's the first thing. And the second thing was way more complex, and I guess it's where this motion might fit, is we must do something about the root causes for addiction. Whether it's poverty, our mental illness, falling through a system, are trauma. Some people encounter addiction because they were overprescribed opioids in the first place. So if this motion means that we have to take a leadership role in addressing the root causes of homelessness, yeah, I could support that. That's what we're supposed to be about. We're supposed to be about dealing with housing, dealing with poverty, dealing with people trying to sort trauma, and to provide the infrastructure for the groups that are trying to help them. The volunteer groups and the privately funded groups that do help deal with the root causes for addiction and homeless. So I do support the motion. I think that we already have, as much as we can, done leadership in the way of being facilitators, of bringing people together and allowing them to talk about it and to make headway or not on these issues. So thanks, I speak in favor of the motion.
And I believe that the first responders are a good example where we're already working in concert with the regional district. That's a shared service, and George, I saw him here a few minutes ago, will clearly identify that overdoses are an issue that falls to the fire department and first responders as a shared service with the region. Councillor Krog.
Yeah, trying to figure out a way that it meets the objective without putting just the city on line.
I have no intention of doing that, thank you.
Yeah, no, anyways, I'm not finished. Thank you. So the city, if you want the city of Grand Forks in there, it should say the city of Grand Forks, as a member of the regional district of Kootenai boundary, request that the board consider taking a leadership role in addressing the homeless issues in the area. The other thing about that is exactly my point when Councillor Moslin said, oh, so we're addressing root causes of homelessness. No, that's one interpretation. But another interpretation is we're going to start building housing, all that stuff. So the strongest voice that you can have with the province and the feds is a regional district voice, not a city of Grand Forks voice, right? So that's what we do, is we, as a member, city of Grand Forks, request that the board consider taking a leadership role, which would obviously include us.
Thank you, Councillor. And Mr. Matuzzi.
Your Worship, just in the spirit of that, the wording I looked at, trying to listen to the way you set the tone of this, but, you know, and to deal with Councillor Krog's issue, that the city of Grand Forks, with the regional district, or as a member of the regional district, take a leadership role. And what I heard you saying is at a board and staff level, because a lot could be done working with regional staff, staff in other communities. If there's an issue in Greenway and Greenwood and Midway, it's sometimes at those staff level and things can get done. So it's not just at the board level, and that's something that you had mentioned. So
do you want to tweak it a bit like that, Councillor Krog? Would that be the kind of thing that would make you more comfortable?
Yeah, just the way that I had phrased it basically says that, yeah, all of us together, every community, every rural area is working for the same goal, right? And that's why I said, as a member, we take that request to the board, and if, as you said, you can get a commitment from the board, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, so I disagree with you on one point, and that is that our best voice at the provincial level is to actually be in conjunction with our regional district, so the city and the regional district, not just the regional district. The first thing they ask is the city in support?
Yeah.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying is when you come through the door at the province, it's the city and the regional district. Our entity is important to them as well. Councillor Moslin.
You know, Mayor, I have to say, I do agree with Councillor Crowe. We know, because our local RCMP sergeant, that right now, tonight, they are turning people away from the shelters in Trail, Nelson, and Castlegar. Now, I know Nelson's a member of Central Group, okay. But this is not just our problem. I think Councillor Crowe did say that. You know, this is a regional problem. And I do concur that if the region would take stock of itself, of what it has, of what it needs, that perhaps it could go forward with an even stronger voice to the province. Perhaps, Mayor, if we could accept this amendment, that we could perhaps have an opportunity to argue it even further at the AKBLG.
I'm sure we can, and for me, the important part here is the term leadership. I think that's what basically gives a green light for us to go ahead with the energies that we have to share. And I like the addition of board and staff. Councillor Krog, are you comfortable with this wording?
Yes, one little bit, and that is in reference to your statement earlier about the weight the city and the RD puts
Right.
together. Now, if you walk through the door, we are the regional district of Kootenai boundary. There's Fruitvale, there's Greenwood, there's this, there's the city of Grand Forks, all just laid out. That's why I say it's got way more power. And why are we separating ourselves from our own regional district?
I'm looking for
I
the
like that
best kick at our can.
Yeah.
Okay, and so Councillor Corlett.
So you're asking us to pass a resolution to take a leadership role. Exactly what does that entail?
I don't know. I'm looking for leadership. I don't have the answer. But we have all these smart people around who have the ability to consult with other communities and get some new ideas and talk to BC Housing about being more flexible around things themselves. We need to let them loose to solve the problem. So I'm saying, you know, when you ask me what does that entail, I don't know, but we have nothing on the table right now. So I'm looking for answers. Councillor Zelinski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So does that mean that the GFSSAC, whatever, is now defunct? Because I'm trying to look at their terms of reference here, and I thought that exactly was the terms of reference, was to figure this issue out. So, yeah, question is, what is that board for now, and what's its future?
You know, I see it as an important board, especially for longer-term planning, since they've run up against a wall with short-term planning. But they are going to be our tap into the regional service providers. So you look around that table, other than Whispers of Hope, most of the services sitting at that table are regional services. So it will continue to play an important role. This is a minor change in terms of basically, again, unleashing the potential we have to address the problem.
Sorry.
Councillor Corlett.
So then there'll be two organizations or more looking at this issue and trying to move forward. I'm kind of almost like there's too many. And then it's like taking away the strength from one to put somewhere else. I'm just concerned about that. I'm just not sure what is bothering me a bit.
I would like there to be 20 organizations involved in this, honestly.
But that's
I think
too many.
No, it isn't. Not if people are working towards a common cause. And I see at this point in time that having more people addressing the problem is going to become an issue of communications, for sure. But certainly is going to bring brain power to address the issue. Councillor Thompson.
I think I can support the motion as amended. I think that if the regional district concurs and agrees to this, as was said earlier, they have the resources, staff resources, as do we, not just lumping it onto one, set of staff, but to tap into their resources at the ministry level. And be able to come back with a report to the boards and to council as to their findings. And then Councillor Moslin and I can take those findings to the service advisory group and hopefully work together and maybe, as a group, massage the recommendations or the ideas or support or whatever. But as the advisory group stands right now, we don't really have any power. And it's really great to have all these meetings and discussions and going around in circles and not going anywhere, just spinning your wheels. So I think this is an opportunity that I would really like us to have a serious look at and support it at the regional table and move forward from there.
Councillor Corley?
Last time. I think that you will find that Greenwood, Midway, and places west feel that they have a stake in all this. They do. They haven't denied that. They don't know what to do or how to go about it. So maybe this will just set the tone for that.
Ready for the question? Sorry, Councillor Zelinski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully there's someone in the room that can educate me on regional districts, because I had thought that any expenditures or any things they do is on a project basis, it's on a service delivery basis. So the only real way, if that's true, if anyone can tell me otherwise, so to me that's the only real way for them to be involved then is on a service basis, and which means buildings and shelter and things like that.
So in the long run and over the next year, looking at the longer term problem, if the regional district gets involved as a service, there is a process to do that. At this point in time, the regional district would have at its disposal the immediate money of grant and aid and various other grants that they have now or could get hold of by applying for. So there are resources there that they can tap to match things that we do. But at this point in time, there's no money plan on the table, and nor would I see one until something comes in front of us that says this is something we'd like to address. Ron, did you?
Your Worship, it may be helpful. I mean, you're correct in terms of a service, but staff were made aware of the fact that Central Kootenai is doing a housing needs study that they would like to do through in conjunction with Boundary as well, because in fact lines really don't end at boundaries, right? There's a service area. And if that was part of it, it would be nice that Grand Forks at staff level had input into what was done, and that the results of that could then be taken, added to the OCP. So however they're doing that study, they're actually looking at a housing needs, and again, at a very high level, but that's something I think would be very helpful and an additional piece of the puzzle that could help us at a local level.
Councillor.
Thank you, and maybe staff can correct me, but I thought we gave a request to the regional district to apply for a grant for that housing study, so I think we're on the way on that one. So.
Okay, Council, we need to make time for Councillor Corlick's 20-minute presentation.
Oh, it's not that long.
So, are you ready for the vote on this matter?
Which
Is the motion on the floor? All those in favor?
Well, just a minute, you made a motion and it was amended, so are we adding friendly amendments here?
Yes, we did make the motion. Okay, I'll withdraw that motion and remake the motion at the bottom and ask for a seconder, Councillor Crowe. And further discussion before we vote? All those in favor of the motion as written? Opposed? So that's unanimous.
And you're taking Rolly's phone call, I hope?
Okay.
Great.
And moving around the table, Councillor Corlick's councillor report.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to combine it with my regional district and the BCDC report and do it all at once, if that's okay. So, to begin with my councillor report, I'd like to start by thanking all those involved with the Christmas parade, light up, and all the organization of the evening. It was fun to ride with Santa and Mrs. Santa on the float. However, we were a little short of reindeer. 3 of us were pulling that sled.
Did you say fat?
I didn't say that. Also, congratulations to the event planner, Erin, and her family for a successful first Christmas tree display and auction. As a matter of fact, I somehow ended up with 2 of those trees. It was fun. I must say that I am sorry there wasn't more participation and people there, because it was a well done, organized event. It was great. So I want to offer my congratulations. All the proceeds raised are to be distributed to community organizations such as the Food Bank and Community Christmas Dinner. So I think it was good. It was a great event. And to see I think they bought 22 Christmas trees to display, and they were all well done. It was great. And I also want to go further. We enjoyed the annual City Christmas Dinner. It was well organized, well planned. It was fun as well. Yes, the food was excellent. While Mayor Taylor was on vacation, I had the pleasure of being the alternate at both RDKB and ECDC meetings. It was very interesting, huge learning curve. And so I did enjoy going, learning, and participating in 4 meetings that I attended on that in 2 weeks. And life-defying trip home the other night, so we made it. So it was excellent. I attended the Community Action Team meeting for prevention and education, and for the CAT team, so Community Action Teams. Plans are in the work for printed and online information to be available for students and others who have concerns and aren't always just comfortable talking to the counselor or going home to mom and dad or whoever it might be. So there will be information provided eventually for students and others. I participated in the information meeting for the residents affected by the BYLAWS in Ruckle. That was interesting, very enlightening, and it was good to see so many of the residents out registering their concerns, and also some of the good things that have happened, and they recognize that as well, so I think that was good. And we also attended the open house for possible development at the West End, and that was an interesting evening as well. Then I had a very relaxing lunch at the annual Boundary Museum before rushing off to a BCDC meeting. And that was great because we found today that Lee, and I can't pronounce her last name.
House.
Yes, received a Volunteer of the Year award for the Boundary Museum. She spent a lot of time in the past several months and has dedicated a lot to the museum. So it was good, and it was a full house. And there's nothing like potlucks. They're always good.
The transit meeting?
I haven't got there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were forgetting.
Nope.
Ben.
And I want to thank the Chamber for providing the minutes for their meetings and a preliminary action plan for 2020. So they've put a lot of time into developing an action plan and how they're going forward. And their boundary bucks, I think, are going forward in great guns. Community Future Christmas Tree had $250 worth of boundary bucks on their tree as decorations. So I think that was a good start. So that's pretty cool. So that's basically council. So regional district, a couple interesting things. The home demolition project on Danish Road was completed. So that's one of the houses that was hanging into the river, was finally demolished all the way. You can hardly tell there was anything there because the ground has been put back. It looks really good. And Chris Marsh, he was at Regional District doing that presentation, and he followed up because I had a number of questions for him, and he was very kind and gracious to follow up with any inquiries I had. The funding was a result of hard work, and it came from the Emergency Response Program. So it didn't come out of the DMAP or anything like that, so I didn't know where the funding would come from, so that was pretty good. So there's another one slated to be done. It's very complex. It's the one on almond gardens, and that's the next on the slate. And they're really complicated because they're of the river and the environment and all the licenses and permits that they have to get to do this. So it's delayed or slowed down the process in some cases. So they've been working really hard at getting all this done. So I think we're very fortunate to have dedicated people doing that. Just to let you know that the veterinarian, Carol, she's been operating on Donaldson, has had her lease extended until next spring when she will relocate downtown. Interesting little tidbit, Big White has had a couple movies filmed at a very good profit to the community, to like $85,000 a day. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, that's
real money.
yeah, it is, definitely. So, and they had a good relationship with the community, because you hear some places that it doesn't necessarily work always. So, then locally, our landfill site has been the object of theft, and a lot of theft goes on at our Grand Forks landfill. So, I mean, one of the last ones was they have an electric fence. Someone cut it and went in, and they're stealing batteries and anything. I don't know, anything metal, I guess. So that's not a good situation. The security has been increased and improved, both for, which is a good thing, not only just for the landfill site in general, but for the staffing, because they're the ones that sometimes are confronting some of the people that are coming in to do their nefarious work. Emergency service work plan has been updated. There's 1,424 subscribers for the Boundary Kootenai alert system, and the evacuation plan is underway. So that means the importance has been placed on developing routes for one-way in and one-way out areas. And I mean, examples are the end of Riverside, for example, the community down there. It's not a cul-de-sac, there's no other route out of there, and other places too. So they're definitely working on plans like that. So.
The transit?
Transit is under BCDC, don't rush me.
She's making up for lost ground.
I am, I don't.
Working up to.
But, and also the emergency services have been, they're just being updated and worked on all the time. Because we do need that. It doesn't matter if it's flooding or fire or other issues, we need to be able to have a plan in place for any emergency time. All right, BCDC. And that's general information. Commissioners had a total of 234 calls, 89 of which were in Grand Forks. Rest are spread over the boundary. Now, they are not, commissioners are, Midway and Greenwood are looking to have the commissioners there on a more regular basis than now. So that's all coming in the future. So transit. It's playing a big role in discussion. As Mayor Taylor previously reported, IHA wants to offload. So BC Transit is in discussion with Boundary Country Development Committee Board. It's complicated as everything seems to be. There will be public engagements coming in the new year to determine the level of need, to identify requirements, and just what we need, because it's, Grand Forks, it can be on call. If you need something, you can just call them and they'll come and get you, or there's schedules in some places. The regional district, Area D, contributes funds for this service. However, really don't have use of the service because it doesn't go anywhere but kind of along the highway and into the city type thing. Greenwood has had a pretty good response. The bus is pretty much always full from Greenwood. And it only costs $3 per person to travel on that bus. So there's all interesting things, but funding is going to be huge, and it will be, the discussions will be around whether or not the service is going to be reduced, whether or not the, there's all sorts of discussions coming, but definitely community input, because it's important to know what the needs are and how many people are using the services. So that's coming. And so, lastly, thank you to Public Works for the seasonal decorations. Downtown looks festive and people are expressing their appreciation all over. So I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And that's it for me.
Councillor, one point on the issue of public involvement with the transit issue. I think that we are planning to have public meetings of some
Yes, we
sort
are.
in the new year.
That's what he said.
Right, so we'll be getting some dates on that and letting people know, but it
Yeah.
is important to get that public input.
You bet.
Thank you. Councillor Crog.
Nothing at this time.
Moving around, Councillor Zelinski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to report on one meeting I attended. And so on December 11th, Councillor Moslin and myself attended the AGM for the Senior Society. And I see their president, Ian Taylor's in the crowd here today. So if you have any further questions from this, Ian's going to have to answer it. So anyway, Councillor Moslin and myself were able to attend and hear some of the seniors' issues, not only on how they have been trying to get back to normal from the flood, but also some of the concerns in our community. The group of 118 members is trying to make their space at the old Hardyview Lodge site workable. They're calling it Veronica Lodge. Among many renovations and challenges with basic utilities, the group still enjoys the conversations and fellowship of the ones that make it out to the numerous activities they put on. Some of the requests that we received from our visit are snow plowing, sand, and a few other details that I've sent off to staff. This group is trying to piece back together what they had, and like most, it has been a slow process. It was clear that the seniors' issues could not take a back seat to other emerging issues, especially when the average age of the citizens in Grand Forks is around 52. So we look forward to continuing conversations with the group and wish them all the best in the future.
And I would like to thank Councillor Zelinski for stepping forward to be involved with the Kettle River Water Management Group. I think this is something that is just beginning. We've only had a couple of meetings so far, but Councillor Zelinski is already connecting with Christina, the coordinator of it, and I think he's going to be a great representative for the city on that committee. So thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thompson.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. November 26th, I attended a BC Economic Development Strategy facilitated by Community Futures. That evening, I attended a workshop on the buyouts of flood-impacted residents where presentations were made and questions were answered. The staff Christmas luncheon and long service awards was held November 27th. That afternoon, I, along with Councillor Moslin, attended a meeting of the Grand Forks Social Services Advisory Committee. An open house on the development of the West End, west of 19th Street and south of Central Avenue, was held December 2nd. I attended and talked to some of the attendees regarding this issue. The harm reduction pillar meeting was held in the boardroom of Boundary Hospital on December 4th. While meeting facilitators were unable to attend as they were held up by an accident on the Paulson, the members present had a very robust and interesting conversation regarding addiction issues. The Grand Forks Social Services Advisory Committee held a meeting on December 5th and again on December 11th to discuss, in large part, the offer from IHA to lease the former nurses' residence women's shelter to the city. IHA's proposal to lease the former mental health facility on 3rd Street was also discussed. I advised that, in my opinion, the city would not be prepared to finance the required renovations on either facility. Further, there was not a proven service provider stepping forward to operate a shelter, and that was one of the requirements of council. Regrettably, I was unable to participate in the Santa Parade and Christmas light up. However, I was able to watch on GFTV.ca thanks to Les Johnson having videoed it. I thought it was a wonderful parade and enjoyed watching the children picking up the goodies thrown by all parade participants.
We didn't kill any.
No. On December 11th, as a representative of council, I was interviewed by Shelby Tom, Global Okanagan, regarding the flood recovery and the homeless issues. Ms. Tom was in Grand Forks and interviewing several impacted residents and business owners, in addition to me and Graham Watt, Manager of Strategic Initiatives Flood Recovery. This is a 4-part series that will be aired starting today through Thursday. The city's Christmas dinner was on December 13th. There was a good turnout of management, employees, and members of council. It was also the last day of work for David Reed, Manager of Operations, who will begin new challenges with his position with School District 51. Our loss is certainly the school district's gain, and I wish him well. In closing, I would like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and all the very best in 2020.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Studley.
Yes, I also participated in the Santa Parade. That was really nice. I'd like to thank the coordinators of that. Dazzle Dance and Les Hulger met for doing the flash mobs at the end there. That was awesome. I just want to say what a good job not only city staff is doing, but the DBA for making all the town look awesome. I did attend the staff dinner. Don't worry, Les. We all ended up sitting at different tables.
No forums.
Just want to remind people there's always events happening. There's tons of different winter and Christmas events, so to participate in, there's always events happening, so please seek out those events and participate in events.
Thank you. And a motion to accept council reports. Councillor Corlett, Councillor Maudlin, all those in favor. And I'm assuming at this point, Councillor Corlett, do we have covered enough of the RD that we don't need to repeat anything there? All right, moving down the agenda, that brings us down to the recommendations from staff for decisions. The first item of business is the temporary use permit. This has had community or public involvement, and this is the final decision on this matter, providing seasonal recreation use at 6380 12th Street. I believe it's a 3-year with the renewal. We've dealt with this before. Can I have a motion to accept it or to recommend it as final? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Krog. I'm starting to jam up here. It's been a long day, so bear with me. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the next item of business is the inter-community business licensing. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we're into bylaws? Or did I go even further down?
11A, the third reading of zoning amendment 2039.
R1 to R2. This is the public hearing that we had at 6 o'clock. Can I have that motion to include it? Councillor Corlick, second Councillor Maudlin. Any discussion on this matter? All those in favor? Carried. And that does bring us to the inter-community business licensing. We had some informal discussions on this matter. Would anyone like to tackle addressing this? Councillor Krog?
No, I just had a comment about a missing word, actually. When we get to it, that was my.
So do you want to make the motion that we give it first, second reading?
Sure.
And seconded by Councillor Thompson. Discussion on this?
Yeah, just one note. at Schedule A, it says, the way it's worded, social escort services, body roads, no. Number 4, mobile food vendors, food stands, flea markets, trade shows are similar, but when you go up under inter-community business definitions, it includes, but not, this does not include fruit stands, flea markets, trade shows, or other small business. So it's missing that
Right.
one, the mobile food vendors. I would think that it should be the same.
Okay, so room for improvement here in terms of first and second reading.
Yeah, right in front of fruit stands, to match Schedule A.
So this is proceeding with public notification, do we?
Yeah,
We can tweak it, tweet it to be correct.
work it. We'll make it work.
All right, council, motion is on the table and seconded. All those in favor, first and second reading, carried. And the next item is the officer positions, and you had some discussion with that again today, where this is to give the first 3 readings, but basically establishes that there will be 3 officer positions that we would retain within the category of approval by council. Councilor Zelinski.
Yeah, Mayor Taylor, I'd like to make a tabling motion on this until the next committee of the whole for a better, fuller discussion. And 2 things missing is the old bylaw that we're taking out, and I don't see anything rescinding the old bylaw in this one, so.
Tabling motion and a seconder for that. Councilor Moslin. Without debate, all those in favor of tabling? Opposed? Carried. The motion is tabled till when?
Next committee of the whole with that additional information.
Okay. All right. Does that bring us down to the end here? I think it does.
Anything from?
And questions from the media and public? Angela?
I do, and it's not necessarily towards council or regarding the agenda itself, so I don't know if this is really permissible. But earlier on, when we came in, there was a group of people outside with candles, and I'm assuming that it was not a protest of anything in particular, but probably a candlelight vigil for someone who has probably passed from our community. And I don't know if it's allowable in that, but maybe we could take a minute to acknowledge that, because I think for those that were maybe watching this, sorry, no? Was it something
As I
else?
understand it, it was a visual standing in solidarity with the homeless people.
Oh,
That's what it was. It
okay, well,
wasn't-
that scared me.
Yes,
Because
okay.
that's why we're doing
Yeah,
some of this stuff. So, my
A
apologies.
silent vigil that
Yeah.
was
Okay.
for the homeless.
I'm sorry, I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
Further comment? And Jensen?
I'll hold mine till later.
Okay. All right, motion to adjourn.